One thing that you could always bet on going up in this market is the total RWA value on chain. In the last 30 days, it's only up about 6.7%, but we are sitting pretty at about $24.5 billion. And I do suspect that by the end of this year, we should be closing in on at least $30 billion, just to be very conservative. I suspect that we probably see a lot more than that, but we'll have to watch, wait, and see. But one thing that I have been focused on is the core pieces behind tokenization. And, some of the larger players in this space kind of get overlooked simply because a lot of people are not paying attention to them. And I think that this is where a lot of people are actually making some very big mistakes. So when we actually look into the global market overview and we look at the names tied to this, we could see, a few names down here, right? Just in terms of all assets. Like, for an example, we know BlackRock is number one here with their build fund. This is on Securitize. You cannot buy Securitize, right? But when we look down the list, Ondo is the first major one that you could actually invest into. And Ondo is number 6 and 7 on this list. Now, in the last 30 days, both of the Ondo short-term U.S. government bond fund and the Ondo U.S. dollar yield are actually up about 8.76% and about 9%. Ondo still is leading here, right? Like, when we actually think about Ondo, Ondo's killing the game. They're actually up about 8.7% in the last 30 days, $2.73 billion on chain, which is extremely bullish for Ondo. Now, when we think about Ondo itself, right, Ondo has been ranging, and it actually just hit levels that we have yet to see since going all the way back to, the beginning of November and even around October, which is a huge opportunity. This is why I tell everyone, right? Like, focus on these very strong projects when we see opportunities, hit the market. Ondo right now has a $2.36 billion market cap, fully diluted value of about $7.49 billion. The upside potential on Ondo, in my opinion, is an easy 10x opportunity. I don't see how Ondo doesn't 10x from here. Maybe it doesn't happen this cycle, but I do think that Ondo is going to be at least a 10x plus opportunity in this space. And it's because Ondo is becoming a blue chip RWA tokenization player, and almost nobody's actually really paying attention to what Ondo is doing. Now, when it comes to tokenization, like I said, one thing we could always bet on is the fact that tokenization value on chain is just going to continue to go up. Why? Well, it's because of adoption, right? Adoption just continues to flood in. Here we actually have from Ondo Finance, from tokenized stocks to stablecoins and US treasuries, the past week has delivered a number of headlines that show how fast the institutional embrace of tokenized finance is racing ahead. Here are the key recent developments you need to know. Number 1, the Genius Act passes US Senate with bipartisan support. The U.S. Senate passed the Genius Act, the landmark stablecoin market structure bill, for the first time. The bill establishes a regulatory framework for U.S. dollar stablecoin issuance in the U.S. and passed the Senate with a 68-30 vote. The Genius Act will protect consumers, enable responsible innovation, and safeguard the dominance of the U.S. dollar. Now, we also have down here, JP Morgan puts tokenized bank deposit on public blockchain. That's a big focus, right? Public blockchain. Usually they are, based around private blockchain usage. But JP Morgan will launch a pilot for a token called JPMD that represents dollar deposits at the world's biggest bank on Coinbase, the biggest US crypto exchange. Coinbase's institutional clients will be able to use the deposit tokens for transactions. Naveen Malela, global co-head of the bank's blockchain division Connexus, stated that the token's issuance and transfer would occur on Base, a public blockchain associated with Coinbase, and would be denominated in dollars. Coinbase asked SEC to greenlight tokenized stocks. Stocks are the big one, right? Coinbase is seeking a green light from the US SEC to offer tokenized equities to its customers, the crypto exchange's chief legal officer told Reuters. BlackRock's tokenized money market fund gets accepted as collateral on exchanges. Crypto derivatives exchange Deribit and Crypto.com have made BlackRock's tokenized U.S. Treasury fund as eligible trading collateral for institutional and experienced clients, unlocking greater capital efficiency for holders. And that's just the past week. When we think about what's happening here, right, you could see how fast things are developing. Even when we go over to RWA.xyz and we just go to the news headlines, these are, this is in the last 24 hours. Like, we're starting to see tokenization and stablecoin initiatives skyrocketing. I mean, even if we just go back, like, look at all of these. We're only 2 days out, now 3 days out. This is all in the last 3 days. This is why I keep saying that, tokenization, everything on chain, it's happening so fast. It is happening extremely fast. Now, on top of all of this, right, we know Ondo has been making some pretty big moves as well. Like, for an example, today we're announcing the Global Markets Alliance, a historic alliance of leading wallets, exchanges, and custodians to bring capital markets on-chain and set standards for the interoperability of on-chain stocks. Again, focus here is on-chain stocks. This alliance includes Solana Foundation, BitGet Wallet, Jupiter Exchange, Trust Wallet, Rainbow.me, BitGo, Fireblocks, 1inch, Alpaca HQ, and more to come. Together, we're defining the tokenized securities industry. And then if we actually look at this, we have why now? Tokenized RWAs are going mainstream and infrastructure must be ready. We're not only building the infrastructure to power the future, but setting the industry standards for the future of on-chain finance. Together, the alliance will help shape best practices and standards for tokenized securities around interoperability, investor protections, liquidity, and composability that streamline user access to tokenized RWAs. Each partner brings something unique. For example, wallets. These are, self-custody and UI. Custodians, this is, institutional grade custody and, security. DeFi platforms are bringing simplified programmatic access for wallets and integrators to on-chain RWAs with deep liquidity. Infrastructure is also bringing brokerage infrastructure for on-chain stocks. As we plan ahead for the launch of Ondo Global Markets, our platform to bring U.S. stocks, ETFs, and mutual funds on-chain for non-U.S. investors, we are excited to work together with the leading players in the industry to make the future of Wall Street 2.0 a reality. Let's bring capital markets on-chain. And yeah, this is huge. Ondo is becoming a powerhouse for stocks. I would say that Ondo is enabling some of the biggest moves happening around tokenization. And now with this alliance, I do think that they're going to move even faster than before. And they were already moving pretty quick. Also, by the way, USDY, which if we go back over here to Ondo, 1 second. So USDY, which is the Ondo US dollar yield, is now live on Cryptix Global, a prominent digital asset platform. iCryptix's users can now gain exposure to daily yield collateralized by US Treasuries, furthering Ondo Finance's mission to make institutional grade financial products and services available to everyone. And more moves are being made by Ondo right now than almost any tokenization and RWA player in the space. Also, by the way, Standard Chartered recently put out a report talking about the real world assets on chain and how they have grown sharply. This is actually a very big thing to focus on because we have January 2024 compared to even January of 2025. If we actually look at that year gap there, we went from like roughly around $6 or $7 billion to 20, almost $5 billion. Think about how fast things are changing around tokenization. And this is a huge bank putting a spotlight on this. Even over here we have from Ondo Finance, gradually then suddenly, a newly released report by analysts at Standard Chartered highlights a fundamental truth. Tokenized assets need to be cheaper, quicker to settle and or create access for more investors than their off-chain equivalent or need to solve an on-chain need, such as yield. At Ondo Finance, that's exactly what we're focused on with our market-leading tokenized treasuries. Ondo's short-term U.S. Treasuries Fund, OUSG, currently offers 4.09% APY, zero management fees, market-leading instant liquidity, and is accessible to global qualified purchasers. Ondo's US dollar yield, USDY, currently offers 4.29% APY with daily subscriptions and redemptions. It's available to a global non-US audience, including retail serving over 15,000 holders. Standard Chartered analysts conclude that tokenized T-bills may become akin to on-chain savings accounts and that this space should continue to grow. Ondo Finance is witnessing that growth firsthand. Our tokenized treasuries now represent 19% of the $7.4 billion market by TVL and 36% by number of token holders, with adoption continuing to accelerate. These products with features such as instant liquidity, quasi-permissionless transferability, and global accessibility represent a re-architecture of financial market access, more efficient, more inclusive, and more aligned with the internet native economy. And this is just the beginning. Soon we'll extend tokenized access to US equities and ETFs, helping to reshape the world's capital markets. And yeah, they're going to just continue to push forward. Now, when we think about stocks, okay, I do want to go over the race towards stocks. The race to mainstream on-chain stock trading is clearly underway. Ondo Finance, a leader in tokenizing US treasuries, and Coinbase, the largest US crypto exchange, are staking early claims in what many regard as the next big trend of Web3 finance, on-chain stock trading. RWA TVL has grown 46% this year, with tokenized equities poised to accelerate growth. Now, when we think about this, we already know that this is incoming. We know that it's incoming in a huge way. Even over here, we have from Robinhood's CEO, Vlad Tenev, saying crypto will replace traditional finance. This is huge. Check this out.
I do think that crypto itself, there's two ways to look at it. One is a tradable asset like options, futures, and equities. The other is as a fundamental underlying technology.
Right.
And in the second lens, it's the next stage in evolution. We've gone from, paper and pencil, filing cabinet-based financial services to mainframe to on-premise, and then more recently cloud. Now, crypto is the next stage in that, where a lot of the business logic that we've required businesses to actually build is now shared infrastructure. So exchanges, lending pools, payment processors, all these things are replaced by software. So I think in the future, crypto technology will power trading and all sorts of financial services, including trading in stocks and other TradFi assets. So the two will fully merge. I do think that crypto...
And yeah, they are merging right now as we speak. I mean, listen, when we think about TradFi and the DeFi side of things, that's converging. Crypto and TradFi are now becoming a powerhouse together. And I think that this is only going to continue to evolve more and more as time goes on. And what's crazy about this is something that Ondo has been focused on for so long now. Even going over here to Ben Grossman, which, by the way, if you guys don't know, this is the marketing guy behind Ondo. We have Wall Street 2.0 is happening soon. The market for the on-chain US treasuries led by firms like Securitize and Ondo now exceeds several billions of dollars. Major players like BlackRock and Citigroup are actively digitizing funds to improve efficiency and appeal to crypto-friendly users. But tackling public equities is a higher order of ambition, targeting the dynamic, live wire infrastructure of capitalism itself, where corporate actions like mergers, stock splits, and shareholder votes happen in real time. Now, we also know that Ondo has been featured now on Bloomberg with Wall Street 2.0 happening, but also even the street. What stablecoins did for the dollar, Ondo Finance is doing to capital markets, Wall Street 2.0. Ondo is killing the game right now, and with all of these major moves that they are making, especially with the recent move with creating this alliance, I do think that Ondo is about to absolutely, grow massively, number one, but also take over Wall Street. This is something that I think everyone should be, paying attention to, especially at a time where Ondo is trading at the levels that it is. And I also think that Ondo, will soon become a crucial piece to really bringing stocks on chain. And I think that this is going to be a huge move for Ondo as well. I wouldn't be surprised if there were some pretty big announcements teed up already, especially with players like Coinbase, for an example, because Coinbase is also focused on this initiative. But I'm definitely focused on Ondo going forward. I think that this is going to be a blue chip in this space. I actually think it's going to be probably one of the biggest projects as well in this space, and even around RWA tokenization. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely will like, subscribe, to notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.